quick Google search will show you study after study after study, both studies that have been done like within the last couple months and also studies that have been done decades ago that show that grateful people experience higher levels of positive emotions. Grateful people experience more happiness. Grateful people have a higher sense of optimism, even pointing to grateful people are more successful. There's just nothing negative surrounding gratitude. On the flip side of that, ingratitude, where St. Ignatius of Loyola once said that ingratitude is the beginning, the cause, and the origins of all evil. He said that ingratitude is the deadliest of all sins. We all have had the experience of when we do something for someone and it's a favor, like it's a pretty obvious that it's like you're going out of your way and it's a favor, and then no one says anything. It stings. Ingratitude stings. And the reason ingratitude stings is because ingratitude communicates that I don't see you. It communicates that I don't recognize you. I don't recognize the efforts that you've made. I don't recognize the sacrifice that you made. And it also communicates that you like that and somehow that like I owe, like you owed it upon me. Like I owed it. Or ingratitude communicates that you owed it to me. And when we experience ingratitude, it creates a gap in relationships. It's something that should be there, but it's not there. And harm is done to relationships. Studies have shown that, especially, just think of, studies have shown that when a given spouse feels that their spouse is not grateful for them, that it can really harm the relationship. It can destroy the relationship if it goes on and on and on. There's a psychology professor, Robert Edmonds, who points out that gratitude binds people together in relationships. And he says that gratitude is thus one of the building blocks of civil and humane society. And in the Christian tradition, as St. Ignatius also said, that gratitude is the fundamental building block in the spiritual life. Because gratitude makes us more human. To be human is to be a creature. And creatures, of course, are dependent. And so if being more grateful can make us more happy, if being more grateful can help our relationships, and if ingratitude is said to be the cause, the beginning, and the origins of all evil, I think it's helpful, or it'd be a good idea for all of us to cultivate more gratitude. And looking at our readings today, we see the importance of the expression of gratitude, and also see the importance of gratitude in bad times. So first, the expression, our gospel is familiar to us. It's where Jesus and the 10 lepers, they're off to a distance because lepers, of course, are cast out from the community, and Jesus heals all 10 of them. And one comes back and lays down at Jesus' feet to give him praise and give him thanks for what he's done. And in verse 17, Jesus said, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other 9? And the Greek, it kind of really brings out more of the sting that is felt here. Because in the Greek, the last word of the phrase is where. So more literally, it's the other 9, where? Like something's missing. Something that ought to be there is not there. There's a gap. And the thing is, I think if somebody stopped those 9 lepers who didn't come back and said, hey, I can't believe how the ingratitude that you have not to come back and to think, they would say, what are you talking about? Of course we're grateful. Like, look at our skin. We're healed. We're not cast out from the community anymore. We feel incredible amount of gratitude. Don't say that we're not grateful. See, but they didn't express it. And unexpressed gratitude communicates to the other person ingratitude. One can feel gratitude like deep down, but unexpressed gratitude communicates to the other person ingratitude. I think if you asked most people if they're ungrateful, they would reply, I'm not ungrateful. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm grateful like for my family, for my house, for my work. Even if you press somebody on and like something that they've done, or even somebody presses us and to say, man, the thing that I just like did for you, you're not grateful. And you'd say, come on, honey, you know I'm grateful for what you did, or mom and dad, of course I'm grateful for everything you've given me. But that's the thing, like, no, I don't know, because you didn't express it. You could feel it, but unexpressed gratitude communicates ingratitude. And so, like, it just makes me think of all the people in my life who haven't heard my gratitude from my lips. People that I haven't expressed my gratitude toward. Because unexpressed gratitude communicates ingratitude. And that's with people. That's with those that are loved ones. And if it doesn't happen, it creates a gap. Something that should be there isn't there. But it's also the case, and it's certainly the case, maybe most certainly the case with God. When unexpressed gratitude is there with God, it creates a gap. And it does harm to the relationship to need to express the gratitude for him who we owe everything towards, in both good times and in bad. Which brings us here to that second point. Oftentimes we don't catch the gospel refrain that the cantor sings in between the two alleluias. But there's always a verse in between the two alleluias. And today, you heard it was, in all circumstances, give thanks, for this is the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. In all circumstances, give thanks. Like, if we hear that and we don't balk at it, it means that we haven't heard it. Because all circumstances. Mother Teresa of Calcutta once said, she says, the best way to express my gratitude is to accept everything, even my problems, with joy. That's wild. Because, like, we know, like, we're sitting here today, like, there's things are pressing on us. Problems. Things that it's like, when I think of it, it's like, I'm like, certainly all circumstances, I'm not supposed to give thanks for this. And Paul's writing to Timothy in the second reading today, and he's speaking to this. Paul's in prison. He's suffering. Timothy, we don't know if he's in prison or not, but we know he's suffering. And Paul's saying, be patient, Timothy, in the hardships that you're undergoing. In the tribulation, he says, don't give way to despair. To not give way into discouragement, he says. He says, you don't see it right now, but God's at work in this. So give thanks in all circumstances. And so, like, even like roadblocks that hit life, tragedies that hit, disasters that hit, and some of us again are in those spots right now. Or we're thinking back to 5 years, 20 years in our life and say, that disaster, that tragedy that hit my life, to give thanks to God for that he's at work. As Christians, we either believe that God can bring out, that he does bring good from evil and suffering, or we don't. And as Christians, we believe that. One of the great illustrations for this, I shared this and close with this illustration I shared it last Thanksgiving, but it really drives this point home, and it's from Stephen Colbert, who's a late night personality, talk show host, comedian, and he's Catholic, and he was being interviewed by a CNN anchor, Anderson Cooper, and you may not know, but Colbert is a Catholic, and he's one of 11 children. And his two older brothers that are right immediately older than him are Peter and Paul. And when they were younger, Peter and Paul, along with their father, tragically died in a plane accident, leaving the mom then to raise all these children by herself. And Stephen Colbert, or Anderson Cooper's there, and he's interviewing him, and he says, "Stephen, you told an interview once that you've learned in your own words to love the thing that I most wish had not happened." And Anderson Cooper begins to get choked up as he's reading this, realizing the gravity of what he's saying. He says, "You said, what punishments of God are not gifts?" And he looks up to Colbert and says, "Do you really believe that?" And Colbert says, "Yes. It's a gift to exist. And with existence comes suffering. There's no escaping that. I don't want it to have happened. I wish my two brothers didn't die and my dad died in the plane accident. I want it to have not happened. But if you are grateful for your life," he said, "then you have to be grateful for all of it. You can't pick and choose what you're grateful for." To thank God for whatever he chooses to send in our life, even if it's got us completely flipped upside down. That's faith. That's dependence upon him. That's the perspective of a committed disciple. And it's extreme, but it's what the Lord asks us to do. And so this week, maybe we remember, we think, when we know that ingratitude stings, that it creates a gap in a relationship that's with relationship with our loved ones and also relationship with God. So for us this week to look at our relationships, who needs to hear you say to them, "I appreciate you. I thank God for you." And to say it to them, to close the gap that's there. That's something that should be there that's not there. Don't let unexpressed gratitude be taken as the other person as ingratitude. And most of all, for us to be grateful to him. Let's write this, the Eucharist means thanksgiving. Maybe at the elevation of the host today, at the elevation of the chalice, of his body and blood, we give him thanks for all that he's given us, all that he's done for us. And don't even to let that opportunity go by to be unexpressed gratitude. To give thanks to him and praise to him in all things, in good times and in bad.